Welcome to the broadcasting of the Sail Grand Prix Spain 2017 for day 4, race 3. Again, with me, it is Roland Stark, that is the referee of this competition. And today we have a commentator, my good friend Jaume Prats. Jaume, can you start?
Hello Angel, hello Roland, hello everybody, and welcome, as Angel said, to the fourth day, third race of this 2017 Spain Santa Cilia Grand Prix. Only the race 3 because yesterday the day was cancelled due to bad weather, and today in the morning we arrived here to rig all the gliders because yesterday were rigged because of the risk of storms. The weather looked very, very bad. But as our contest director, Serge Leclerc, said, it has been improving all the morning. And there were two possible tasks. One, it was 110 kilometers. And the second one, task B, it was 220 kilometers. It's the same row 2 times, okay? And fortunately, the conditions have improved so much that pilots have task B, so have the longer task. They have started to launch. They are all flying right now. And as you can see in the screen, they are between 1,400 meters, Jürgen Wenzel, and more than 2,000 meters. It's important because the cloud base has been climbing, and it's good because they will have height enough to go and make the task. But the sailing will not be high enough to go to the higher mountains of the Pyrenees, which are Collarada, Tendeñera, which are about 2,800 meters. So we can almost be for sure that they will not be able to use the dynamic reach of the higher mountains also. And that's why, and to avoid the risk of storms in the mountains, the task has been set in the middle of the valley. So it's full of landable places, and to avoid that storms. Now, as Angel said, we have here Roland, who is our referee and has been referee in many Grand Prix. Roland, with your experience, what do you think of today's race?
Since the weather is much better than expected, the race will be, the length of the task is 220 kilometers. I think the pilots will manage to round all the turn points. The task is around the airfield. We do not go much farther than 50 kilometers from the airfield. For the time being, they are all waiting. The contest director will make the countdown. He will indicate to the pilot that they have to be behind the start line 5 minutes before the opening of the line. And after 1 minute before the opening of the line, they will not be allowed to circle to the right, because everybody has to circle to the left in order to avoid any risk of collision behind the start line.
Yes, as Roland said 1 second ago, there are some procedures for the start. That's one of the procedures that Roland said, and the other ones is you can see they are around 2,000 meters, 2,200 meters. We don't think the sailing is higher than that, but at the start line, which is situated just in the airfield of Santa Cilia, they cannot pass through the start line higher than 1,700 meters QNH. That's important because they are due to go down, so they are forced to look together for the first thermal. And apart from it, the maximum start speed is 107 kilometers per hour, not indicated, but ground speed. Usually, when there are some penalties at the end of a race, the most usual, and Roland will agree or not with me, are some penalties because of the speed or the altitude they cross the start line, because they are going so fast that 10 meters up, 20 meters down, the difference is difficult to catch. Okay, and well, you can see the whole task. Okay, they are now proving the different mountains. Well, one important thing is the numbers that you see above your screen, which means start is in 6 minutes, is a little mistake. We are just about 2 minutes from the start line. And
the time of the delay that we need to produce it.
yes, because there is a little delay between the real position and the position that you can see on your window. Now the screen you can see the middle of the valley, and with a green line, which is the star line, and they are all at the North Mountains, concretely in the second step of the Pyrenees, and they are climbing as high as they can to then go south, cross the star line, and we can be for sure they will go back again to the north to look for the thermals of the mountains. We apologize, we have lost the signal for some seconds. Meanwhile, they are on real start time, but we will see it in a couple of minutes when the signal comes back. Well, as we were talking just 1 minute, now we have recovered the signal. It's only 23 seconds for the start time. And as you can see, they are going down, losing altitude to have the maximum altitude of 1,700. The first ones were Golf Tango, which is Thomas Gosner, which is at the leading of the whole championship, and Lima Echo, which is Sergi Pujol from La Cerdanya. As we can see, they have stopped, not because to circle thermals, just because they were, otherwise they will be out of time. Now we can see they are all going together. The start gate is open, and we will see for sure that they will touch the northern part of the line, just touch it, and then they will go back to the north for the mountains. We can see Sergi and Jürgen have started a little bit lower than the limit. Sometimes it's pilots do it because just to have no penalties. So they prefer maybe to start 50 meters lower, but to be sure they have no problems after landing with penalties. Okay, and we can see at the lead a group of 4 gliders: Victor Lima, which is Jorge Arias with the Ventus 2, John Gatfield, and Hossein team from the French team with an LS8. And just after them is Yankee Sierra and Aldo Rodriguez. Aldo Rodriguez is flying with an ASW20, with such a glider with less performance. And Aldo has been in a couple of Grand Prix here in Santa Cilia, in USA, and in Cerdanya. And John has always taken the best of the competition. When you see the images, you can see that the gliders seems to be very close one to another, but it's not a real distance. The image, the icons of the gliders are bigger, so you can see it better. Okay, now we can see they have stopped at the first mountain, and well, this is the first decision of the race. Some pilots, a first group, tried to go to the south, which is Victor Lima, Jorge Arias, and Hotel Quebec, Fridolin Hauser, and a group is going to the north, to the higher mountains, climbing very fast. Thomas Gosner and John Gatfield. As you can see, they are climbing very fast, very fast. We can see now the Vario lectures, and well, we can see that Golf Tango and Sierra 5 are climbing very far, very fast, about 2.5–3 meters per second of medium. Okay, John Gatfield is climbing about 5 meters. We don't know if real or just a pull-up they make. It's just a little problem. And they have stopped. It must be a good thermal. In that thermal, they are Yankee Oscar, John Gatfield, Sierra 5 Silverio, and Lima Echo, Sergi Pujol. Okay. In the middle, Yankee Sierra, Hussein, Lee team from the French team is in the middle. And to the east, the first group that preferred to go straight, not stopping to the north. Okay, it's Jorge Arias and Fridolin Hauser and Aldo. Okay, they are 300 meters lower than the second group, and well, that's the bet. If they try, if they find a thermal, it will be good. Maybe they have gone to the east because they have seen maybe a cloud or something good. Meanwhile, Jürgen Wenzel Jürgen has had little problems before the start line to climb enough, and is going down. He's going through the middle of the valley, which usually is a little bit more wet. But fortunately, this night we had some rain here in the valley, but it was not much rain, so the terrain is not very wet. So with some wind and some sun, it will be dry and we'll have thermals. Oscar Sierra was arriving to the first point to the east, and but as you can see, they are low and they have stopped to climb almost every glider. We can see Aldo with his 20, code 70, is climbing very well, 2 meters per second. And they are arriving to the first point, which is Huasillo. They are arriving, it's the first point to the east. As we talked at the beginning, the task that you see, they will have to make twice. 2 rounds of the circuit in the middle of the valley. Okay, we can see Oscar Sierra, Jürgen Wenzel is arriving to the first point. It could be interesting because a good chance is to touch the point, go back, and go where the other gliders are climbing. It's good strategy, but we don't know if Oscar Sierra will have altitude enough to arrive to them. It is very low. The middle of the valley, 600, 700 meters over sea level. So now Jürgen is about 400 meters over terrain, not more. Now he's touching the point, and for sure he will go back. Okay. We can see to the west that all the best pilots have joined together. They are climbing very fast, and well, it seems they are slower than Jürgen, but that's not true. They are climbing, so they can go to the next point and not go down a lot. Okay, we can see now the pilots that are climbing in a thermal. They are climbing very fast. You can see to the right the climbing rate, which is between 2 and 2.5 meters per second, which is very good in a day like today. And as Roland told us, you can see the leader and the pilots at the head of the competition now. There is Thomas Gosner and John Gatfield also. They are all going together. Meanwhile, there are 2 pilots leaving the thermal, which is Jorge Arias with Victor Lima. Jorge at the first day was leading the group all the race, but finally at the end he was chased by other pilots and didn't have a good position. Meanwhile, you can see Jürgen Wenzel, who was apart from the main group of the gliders, has found the thermal. It's good news for Jürgen Wenzel and for his crew team. By the moment, they don't have to go to a retrieval, and we can see the 2 of 3 Spanish pilots 70 Aldo and Victor Lima Jorge Arias. They are going to the first point. You can see the difference of between 500, 600 meters between Jürgen and Aldo and Victor. They are going to the first point, touch, and maybe Oscar Sierra will act as a sniffer. They will look, they will see him circle a thermal and look for him. Now all the other pilots are leaving the thermal and going to the first point. Okay. Now we can see a different point of view after the first pilots have touched the first point, which is the view, a simulation of the view from Aldo's cockpit. Aldo is very close to Victor Limas. He's 1,700 meters, and please take note that these altitudes are over the sea, not over the ground. We can see now Jorge has stopped circling, and Aldo has done the same. It seems they are flying together today. And as soon as Jorge turned left, hard left, Aldo did the same. So we will see the rate of climbing at the bottom of the screen. You can see they are climbing between 1.5 and 2 meters per second. And as you can see, all the pilots have good altitude except Jürgen. Jürgen has climbed a little, about until 1,300 meters, but he has stopped climbing. He's a little bit low right now. And meanwhile, Spanish pilots at the lead of the group, they are climbing. And the distance to the second point, to Yesa, is 52 kilometers. They have started, and now they are about 45. This is the longest leg of the task today. Anyway, they are going pretty close. This is, of course, a simulation, but you can be for sure that from the cockpit they will be looking together. We can see Luis Ferreira from the home airfield has stopped climbing. And you can see little group, which is Aldo with Jorge Victor Lima and John Gatfield going together to the lead. Well, we can see going to the second point, which is now 43 kilometers, we can see that the whole group that went a little back while climbing, they all have passed Jürgen, who was at the lead, and now where there is a main leading group with 6 or 7 gliders. All the leaders are there, and a little back is Fridolin with Lima Echo Sergi Pujol. Okay, now we see we are pretty close. That's a good image. Thank you, Angel. And at the leading, they have gone, as Roland said, not through the middle of the valley, a straight line, but going to the north, a little curve over the mountains to have better conditions. They are going like a little group. Okay. In days with not very good conditions, pilots used to go, especially at the first half of the race, all together, and they one of the most important decisions is when to leave the group and start doing your own race. We can see all the pilots stopping. There will be a good thermal there. They are all circling. Good thermal. We see 2 and 3. The only pilot that went straight ahead is Jorge Arias, but I don't know. I think he's turning back. I don't know for sure. To know that the altitude of that mountains is about 1,200 meters, so they are about 400, 500 meters over the top of the mountains. We can see now the main thermal. Fridolin, Thomas Gorner, Luis Ferreira are at the top. Luis Ferreira is after the leading group with another glider, but he's very high also, but he's at the back of the group. We can see now the situation of the whole race. The main group of the gliders are circling a thermal, and to the west we can see Victor Lima, Jorge alone in a thermal. Jorge is used to many times fly alone, do his own race, and he's very safe. He feels very comfortable flying at low altitudes. We can see the pilots are leaving at the thermals at about 1,800 meters high. So we can imagine that is the sailing of the clouds, or maybe the conditions are deteriorating as they are climbing. We can see at the leading is Jorge Arias with Victor Lima and 70 Aldo, all together at the lead, and after them Sierra 5 Silverio is higher. Okay, the two pilots at the leading are a little bit lower, and the chasing group is a little bit higher. So in resume we can see that they are all together. When they find the next thermal, they will join again. And Roland was saying us, we are here all looking at the windows, and we turned our back and we saw that the valley is getting blue and with nice cumulus, very good weather. It's some wind from the southwest, which is hot, and it's improving the conditions. We think to the west, it seems better, the sailings will be higher. So maybe when they make the first circle, they will break the group. At the group, we can see that two of the leaders of the whole race, which are Thomas Gorsner with 17 points and John Gatfield with 10 points, they are taking care of the leaders of the group now, which is Aldo and Jorge. As we told 1 minute ago, they are all joining together in a new thermal, 1,500 meters over sea level, and we'll see if they found a good thermal here.
This is an interesting picture. All the gliders in the same thermal, trying to climb altitude. I put you there the values of each of the guys. You can see that in half of the turn it is climbing, the other half of the turn is descending. So there's some activity, some instability on the atmosphere, but still there is a lot of fights by the pilots are having a tough job today, just try to stay on the air and being taking care of flying, navigating. It's they're gaining their salary today.
I think today will be an interesting day and decisive because next 1 or 3 days the weather forecast is not very good. And Roland, I am wrong if I say that for the Grand Prix to be valid, we need at least 3 days of race, no?
No longer. We changed last year. We need only 2 days. So in fact, the competition is already valid since we could fly the 2 first days.
Okay, perfect. So now you can see almost all flying together. The 4 leading pilots of the whole classification are Thomas Gosner, Junger Wenzel, John Gatfield, and Aldo. And the only one who was not in the leading group was Jürgen Wenzel. He's a little bit back, but all the leaders are all together. We can see that they are leaving the thermal at the same sailing, 1,800 meters all together. Victor Lima and 70 Aldo are close together, pretty close, almost the same altitude. They are working as a team today. Maybe the third Spanish pilot, Sergi, will be a little angry with them. And we can see Golf Tango, Thomas Gosner, and Hotel Quebec, Fridolin Hauser are at the chasing group. Sometimes you see a glider appear and disappear. It's when we have the signal and we lose the signal. Now we see John Gatfield has done a little pull up. You've been here, have seen him climbing a lot, but not circling. And we can see that the leading group is at the same altitude, 1,600 meters. Fridolin Hauser, you can see him with the red label. He was also in last year's other Spanish Dania. He made quite well. He flies very well. Yes, Roland was telling us an important point. You can see the ground speed of Aldo and Jorge their labels at the bottom of the screen. They are about 180 kilometers per hour. It means maybe the conditions are really improving because they are low, but they are running very fast. Even though the conditions were not the best, all the pilots were having water ballast. Well, we can see now a whole picture of the task area. You can see in the middle the valley, the Cuculo mountains, but it's a forbidden area. You are not allowed to be there. And going to the second point, which is Yesa, they will be now about 25 kilometers, as you can see in Jorge. And well, Jorge Satellite, I think Jorge is a very competitive pilot. As we talked to you before, he is very comfortable. He doesn't matter being low. And I think he wants to do the best of him today. Well, we can see that the highest pilot is Luis Ferreira, which is at the back of the race, but he has to be very proud. He's doing quite well with a glider with less performance, but he's doing the race in not the best day for that kind of glider. Usually in this zone, the usual strategy is going as to the north as you can to the higher mountains, but it's not the case. Just to avoid the storms, they are going through the lower mountains in the middle of the valley. So just in case you have storms at the north mountains, you can go to the south. The intention of the contest director was that the race should always be done, and I think they are achieving. They are going very fast, and well, they are arriving to the zone that has the most blue sectors. Arriving to the west is the end of the Yesa reservoir. It's a big lake, and we can see also by the window looking at the airfield, and also in the radar, that by the moment there are not storms around the task area, so it's good for the pilots. Well, now you can see the meteor radar. This is the Spanish Pyrenees, the main city of Huesca, and this is the valley where the race is going right now. Okay, so we can see that as the weather forecast told us, the main storms are to the north and east part, to the highest part of the mountains. That's good for us, okay? And it's important because when they go to the east for the second circle of the circuit, they will find it with thermal activity, not dead, because just in case it has rained. By the moment, we can be sure for that. And here we can see a meteor image. That's the evolution. And here is where the task is going on. You can see to the north the storms that they are forming by the moment, but we are in the blue zone, and that's good. Okay, now we can go, Angel, to back to the race. Well, we can see the leading group. Maybe you see some dashed lines, dashed labels, because we lost the signal of the pilot, but we can see another ones, and we can make us a picture of what is happening. The leading group pilots, they are not very high. They are at about 1,200 meters. Jürgen Wenzel has a shift to catch the leading group. He's a very good pilot. He has deserved it, has made it. And well, I think now you can see the leading group has stopped. They are circling a thermal that seems to be not very powerful, but at that altitude, they have to circle whatever they find. They cannot keep on going, otherwise they would make an outlanding. In the middle of the valley, there is a little sierra close to Yesa Valley, Yesa Lake, and we think that's where they are fighting to go up again. We can see Thomas Gosner, as we said, the leader of the competition, is 200 meters above the rest of the pilots. Maybe Roland was telling us maybe he's controlling what's happening at the lead, taking the fewer risk he can, because he has margin not to be the first and take no risk. Well, we can see they have gone to the north part of the lake. The lakes used to be zones with no thermal activity, and we can see that a little group has gone more to the west. Yankee Oscar, John Gatfield, and Oscar Sierra Jürgen Wenzel. You can see the vario readings are not good, so they are not climbing. Meanwhile, you can see Sergi Pujol, from the pilots that we have signaled, is the one with the higher altitude, but he's a little to the east. He's the last one. He's arriving now. And maybe that difference of altitude is good for him. The west area, that seems to be working for us, in our humble opinion, but as we can see the performance of the pilots, it seems not good as we thought. They have to stop to climb wherever they can. Now Yankee Sierra, who's in leading, the French pilot, was for a moment had the signals they had a very good climbing, but now the climbings are improving. That's good. And John Gunfield is at the lead. Well, we think to the west part of the task, maybe we lose the signal of the gliders, but we can see as a whole they have stopped climbing. Sergi has arriving. He's the last one of the main group. He's arriving at the high altitude. When done, Sergi?
But look at Aldo and Jorge. They're a little bit behind, but it seems to be the only ones that are climbing right now.
Yes, they have the only good climb of all together. With them is Hosen Litim. I think they are rejoining again. We don't know what's happening at the leading. Luis Ferreira is coming from the back of the race with 1,800 meters. If that zone is not working properly, as they have to come back maybe through the same zone, we think they will climb as high as they can, even though the thermal is not very good, but they will go to the sailing of the thermal, go to the west, touch point, and go back. Now they have good climbings to the east of your screen, and we can see Aldo and Jorge, and also Thomas Gosner joined with them, but now he's not the highest pilot. John Gatfield, we have signaled for some moments to the west. He was higher, but he has stopped climbing. He has stopped to climb. So maybe they see it doesn't work as they thought. Talking about the pilots, I have to say that, for example, John Gatfield has been in other Sailplane Grand Prix like La Cerdaña in the USA, and I think also in Rennes. And Sergi Pujol has been in Varese last year. He was one of the two pilots of 20 who had no engine, no jet, no face, so he has to be very proud, and he's here fighting with the glider is a little with less performance, but he flies very well that glider, that LAC 17A. And Silverio de la Rosa, he's a very competitive pilot also, and he always takes with him his sympathetic character, Italian character, always happy, always smiling. And we can see they climbing. Finally, the thermal is good. It's 2 meters per second. That's good. I think they at the bottom of the thermal band, and we can see them 2.8, 1.8, sorry, meters per second. And well, maybe they will work together because they are not. That zone is not very good. We can see this is the second group. They are here. We can see almost all the leaders of the race except John Gatfield, who's at the first group. As you can see to the left of your screen, they are arriving to the second point. Yes, sir. Yankee Oscar, John Gatfield, and Oscar Sierra, Jürgen Wessel, they have touched the point already, and they are coming back. The second group is about 400, 500 meters higher. We will see it that strategy of climbing the higher as they can is good, and maybe they arrive to the leading group. The difference about 500 meters. That's a good difference. We will see what was the correct decision, to touch and go back, or maybe stop to climb the higher they can and then touch the point and go back as higher as they can. Well, we can see now the second group is running again to the second point at Yesa. They are, I think, about 10 kilometers. With them is Sergi Pujol. Sergi Pujol 2 days ago was very happy because he made a second place, but he could have gone. He was only 11 seconds after Thomas Gosner, and he had about 49 meters left. And everybody told him, Sergi, why did you do it? He said, I was afraid of arriving lower than the limit. And he was, while he was thinking if he arrived or not, he was telling us he saw Thomas pass him by as a coed, and I think Thomas passed the finish line just about 1 or 2 meters over the limit. Is that correct, Roland?
Yeah, that's okay.
So talking with Sergi, we talk about that, and he said, well, it's a matter of practice, belief in the instruments, and always take care of the limit and turn speed into altitude and altitude into speed. It depends on what you're finding by the road. Well, Angel was saying that I have make an invention, a new word, which is coed. I mean rocket. I'm sorry for my English. I apologize. And Roland, with his experience, is giving us his advices about what's happening in the whole race. We can see the pilots from the second group. They are still going to Yesa, and we will see if they catch or not the first group. I think they are being a little conservative right now, Roland. What do you think?
It is very interesting because the tactics of the two groups were very different. Golf Tango, that means Thomas Gosner, the leader, and Aldo 17, they are together, and they try to climb as high as possible and are only arriving now to turn point 3 Yesa, while the others went way lower and have turned some minutes ago in Yesa and are on the way to Castillo Nuevo. And now it seems that they made the good decision because they have a good climbing between Castillo Neva and Yesa.
Jürgen is the leader.
And Jürgen is very low, but he is turning at Castillo Nuevo. He's very low. He's 1,300 meter only. It will be interesting to see if he can find a good lift, and then he would be clearly in lead of this competition. Fridolin Hauser and John Garfield are in 1,600 and 1,500 meter respectively. Things are going well for them, and they are now flying very fast to the for turn point Castillo Nuevo.
Well, as we can see, the left part of the race is a little bit tricky. It will be interesting then have an interview with them to know what was happened. There is always a part that we don't see. From here, it's very easy from seated in front of a window to have our opinions, but for sure at that altitude, pilots maybe they are a little stressed being so low in a day like this with risk of storms. But well, we will ask them anyway, and you will see their opinions in the web of the FAI SGP. Well, although they have a little sierra in the middle of the valley, they have landable places, and at the points you can see to the west with zone, they have only a few marked landable areas, which we have a little manual, and it's mandatory here to fly with them and to know them. But in the west, it's a more plowed, and usually you have landable places. You can see now that Fridolin Hauser signal has appeared in 4th point, Castillo Nuevo, just to disappear 4 seconds later. We will have to wait a little, some minutes for the signal to return. Meanwhile, Jürgen again was low, 1,080 meters. That's low. We thought it would be the general signings would be higher, but it seems not. It's not the case. John Gatfield is climbing. Good rate, 3 meters per second. He has a good thermal, and he's going to the west. That's good. By the way, we don't know if the second group has got the first group. We don't think so. And Thomas Gosner, meanwhile, is in the middle with 1,600 meters. They are still at 3rd point at Yesa. Maybe at the edge of the lake, they have found good thermals, places where the terrain is dry, and the contrast with the wet place is usually a good place. Well, Roland was making an observation very interesting, that John is at the northern mountains, the northern part, was climbing very well. Now he's about 1,800 meters. It's good to have that altitude. So you can always have time to take decisions, and you have different options. Meanwhile, if you are low, like Jürgen Wenzel, it's lower than 1,000 meters. It's really low. Today is going high, low, high, low, high, low. He has to take whatever he finds. It's different. It's always to be high. John Gatfield is still climbing at the same place. It's good thermal. I think he will arrive to the 2,000 meters, climbing that 5 meters per second. Well, sometimes you see edges of 6 or 7. You have to know that it's the barrier of the moment, not the medium. But Roland, I think, will be a 3 meters, maybe one of the best thermals we will see all the day. And Jürgen at the south, he finally seems to have found some thermal activity. We will see. He was only 1,000 meters almost. He has to fight a lot. Yes, he's in survival mode, but he's at the lead. We will see what happens. Now John has left the thermal. He's going to Castillo Nuevo. I think he will. That thermal seemed to be very good, or there was a nice cloud, because he went to the west of the 4th point, Castillo Nuevo. So he had to have a good marker somewhere. And well,
it was drifting to the west, meaning that at that level there is wind from the east.
Now we are having signal back from some pilots. We can see Aldo and Thomas. Thomas is very interesting. I think he's one of the men to follow, because he will take maybe he will be in the middle of the race, taking care of what happens at the lead. Yes. Meanwhile, Jürgen Wenzel is not climbing. He has found something, but he cannot pass 1,000 meters by the moment. And meanwhile, the higher ones are John Gatfield and Aldo, but John is maybe 8 kilometers in front of him. He's passing the 4th point and going out of the west part to Mianos.
We wonder what our good friend Jorge Arias is doing. You can see him there at the south of the reservoir. So what? He has to go north. So we have now joining us the contest director. What is your opinion of what is doing Jorge? Why Jorge is going south when he needs to go north?
Yeah, effectively, I cannot understand. This direction is strange. Maybe a mistake in the order of the point. I don't know.
Well, Jürgen seems to have lost his thermal. He's going down again. You can see the difference between the rest of the pilots at his altitude. He's only about 200 meters above terrain. Maybe he will go maybe to the mountain and looking for a landable zone. Well, it will be interesting this afternoon to talk with Sergi, with Victor Lima, who now has disappeared from our screen. He was at the south of the lake. Now you can see him again. And instead of going to the north, which is the next turning point, he has gone to the south. Maybe he doesn't like the aspect of of the north zone, but we will ask him. It will be interesting. We will see if it makes the day. We don't know. Meanwhile, well, from another point of view, from another signal, from another system, we can see that what's happening with Hotel Quebec with Fridolin. We can see the yellow line is the task. Remember, it's two circles, two times they have to make the circuit. And Fridolin has, you can see a little, he's going to the south and he has circled. He is 1,000, about 1,200 meters. And with blue icons, you can see all the gliders.
Look the data. We have 142 on the heading, 124 on the speed, 1,753 on the altitude, 1,218 the altitude over the terrain, and the value and the angle of attack and the quality of the signal.
Well, we have a lot of data. That's good. And I was wrong. 1,200 meters. What was not the altitude of the pilot, but the altitude of the terrain, from the terrain. Okay. Yankee Oscar is going to has passed Mianos, and yes, he's going to the south. And
Altitude is 1,165.
well, back again, and we have recovered the signal from some pilots. We still can see that Jürgen is definitively not climbing. He's only 800 meters over sea, is a few meters over the ground. We were asking why he was going to the north, not to the south. And in the other hand, we can see John Gatfield, Yankee Oscar. He's at 1,200 meters to the south of Mianos Point, and Fridolin is joining him. Fridolin is going higher, 400 meters to the lead, and the relative positions you can see, they don't have to be the real positions. Remember, there is a compensation between altitude and distance, and only when arriving to the last points we will see what is the real position. We can see Jorge with his strange strategy going to the south, but now he's the higher. He's going to the third point, and maybe he doesn't have to stop in this bad zone, but jump to 0.5 Mianos. It's good. Always, Jorge has always different strategies, and many times they work. It's incredible. It's a pilot from when you talk to him, you can always learn from him, and he's also very sympathetic, and he always shares with his knowledge with us. Okay, well, the good thing apart from Jorge is, by the way, he will see other gliders circling, so they have markers. He has markers in front of him, lower than him. That is good. Although he's a little back at the race, he's in good position. Jorge is back at the race. It's good. It's good.
We will ask him later on his strategy, because we, at this stage, we cannot understand it. But I'm pretty sure that he has something in mind.
Meanwhile, there are some pilots from which we don't have any news some minutes ago. For example, Sergio Pujol or Luis Ferreira. We will see what's happening with them. And Jürgen, we can see he's only 730 meters. We don't know if he is going to land out. Maybe at that altitude, with some mountains in the middle, we have lost the signal. We will see if he comes back. We don't know. And at the lead, you can see Fridolin has gone. He's going to the next point. Meanwhile, John is still climbing. And some pilots who have gone to the north part, which are Thomas Gosner, and I think is Silverio. Yes, the Italian pilots are going together. Thomas is a very good pilot, and Silverio also. And well, it seemed that now Jorge will find Aldo, his today's team in front of him circling. And today, the more powerful mountains, which are the north, are a little bit far from the route of the task. But the Italian have made the decision to go there. It will be interesting. Maybe the sailing is going up. We don't know, but they are low. They are a little bit low at that mountains. And Jürgen is back. He's in survival mode. He has to stay wherever he is and look for whatever he found. We think he will have a landable zone down his feet. We'll see what happens. Okay, we can see that Jürgen Wenzel is finally climbing. Here we have Angel, Roland, and me almost a heart attack. It was here Serge, the contest director, asking what he was doing so long, so low, and so to the north. Then it's another pilot to ask him some question, what has happened. Strange decision. And meanwhile, we can see that is the track of Aldo Rodriguez, 7-0. Chasing him is Jorge Arias. We can see the blue glider at the northwest, and is going to Mianos Point. And meanwhile, you can see Jürgen. He's 900 meters now. Hotel Quebec is the leader. He's going to pass over the airfield. It could be interesting if we see him because he's not very high. He's 1,500 meters. The second, the, the second pilot is John Gatfield, and meanwhile to the north we can see Jürgen climbing, and little by little we hope he makes it. And after them we can see a group of pilots that is Aldo with 7-0, Sergi Pujol. Finally we have signal from him, 1,400 meters. I think he's going together with Victor Lima Jorge. And the Italian pilots who have decided to go to the very to the north, far from the route of the task. Well, maybe if they are able to climb to 2,000 meters or higher, they could do it. But they had to find very strong thermals, a lot of difference. So it's worth. We will see. Anyway, it seems today there are some couples of pilots working together, Italian pilots, Spanish pilots again. And I think Jorge, as we told before, is going to the 5-point Mianos and will join again Aldo and Sergi Pujol. Fridolin is climbing a little bit to the west of the, and after that they are starting the second circle to the valley circuit. From the window, the thing we can see is that there are scattered clouds to the west, and the wind from the west is getting stronger. Not much stronger anyway. These gliders have water ballast and high wind load, so the wind doesn't affect them as with other older and lighter gliders. They are most of them new generation gliders, but they still have good conditions. It's strange because maybe there is some turbulence of change of wind, because from here there are very nice cumulus to the west, and it's difficult to understand what's happening to the west for the pilots to be so low. Here we have again Serge Leclerc, the contest director. Serge, with all your knowledge, what do you think is happening to the west? The pilots are suffering so much.
Yeah, I think the situation is a change. The direction of the wind has changed. We had on the beginning of the afternoon we had really south wind, and at this time it's west wind in the ground, but west wind too in high. And when the wind is changing of the direction during a moment, every thermal has to build again. And I think it's a bad period, and probably the difficulty for everybody, not only on west. But if people maintain enough altitude to arrive to Santa Cilia, on the east side, it's really very, very good. That means the second part of the task can be very, very interesting again. But at this time, it's sure everybody has some difficulty to climb.
I think I agree with you. I think they are all together in survival mode, not only Jürgen. But I think after they pass this period of time and the thermal activity restart again, and all the conditions improve, maybe they will rejoin some pilots together. But there are some zones with some pilots scattered, and we will see if they rejoin together. Serge, do you think the conditions seem to be much better than this morning were? Do you think they will be able to make the task?
Absolutely, I'm sure it's possible. with some difficulty. Remember, the atmosphere is still wet, and the thermal. The problem is when the air mass is wet, the energy it's not staying a long time. There is a connectivity between the temperature of the inside the thermal and the exterior, and the thermal is a difference between two different kind of air mass. The warmer and it's climbing, and all the glider using is this system. If the temperature it's very quickly the same everywhere, the thermal and not during a long. That means you need always to change. If you are too low, it's difficult to change of the thermal. And if you need the good tactic today, is to don't go too low, because it's beginning to be very difficult. The good the good place now, the best place to climb, it's the north of the valley, because all the hill, the small mountain, help to produce at the same place a interesting thermal. And in the valley, it's preferable to don't go too low.
Thank you very much, Serge. We could see right by some moments ago, Fridolin arriving to the airfield has climbed to 1,900 meters. Now you can see he's passing the start line at the beginning of the race, and meanwhile he was climbing. John Gatfield arrived lower at 1,100 meters, and I think Fridolin has acted like a marker for John. And while Fridolin was leaving the thermal, we saw John circling and beginning to climb.
Now he's climbing more well.
John is climbing very well. Well, he's climbing. We will see. He's low. And well, I was wrong. Serge is laughing. Okay. And well, we have to say that when at the briefing this morning, first of all, when they talk about put a task, there were some smiles on the faces of the pilots. But when Serge said, no, there is a B task with 220 meters, I remember John Gatfield laughing and laughing, and everybody was, some smiles said, it's impossible. But I have to say,
for the C task.
I have to say that Serge was contest director last year in Spanish Nationals, and has difficult conditions, weather conditions, and we were very happy because he made very well. He had the perfect windows and the perfect task. And meanwhile, it was raining 10 kilometers from here, but pilots could make the task. It was very, very nice, and I think in this contest he's achieving again. Thank you very much, Serge. Okay, we see Fridolin is starting the second circle, and good news for Jürgen. I think his heart is not beating so fast. He has climbed to 1,400 meters. For today, I think it's, for what he has done today, good altitude. John Gatfield is climbing, but I think he's not climbing as good as Fridolin did in the same place. Maybe he has lost the bubble, we don't know. And at the west part, in Miano, some pilots have rejoined. I think they are Aldo Rodriguez with Silverio and Victor Lima. They have climbed to 1,700 meters. And I think arriving to the airfield conditions, well, the pilots are climbing a little bit. Jürgen, I think he will not leave the thermal until he's the higher he can. I think he will not want to suffer again. He was really low, very low. I don't know, Sergi, that was a complicated place to land.
Oscar, yes, it's a complicated place to land, and I cannot understand his tactic, because the point is really south from this position, and I understand the cloud looks better on the north, but it's a very long way to arrive on the airfield, and you saw Hotel Quebec Yankee Oscar made a direct way without too much difficulties, and I cannot understand why he went north, and it was very difficult for him. That's competition.
In the meantime, the Swiss pilot Fridolin is arriving to the Guasillo turning point, so is 1/3 of the second task already done. Very good for that for Fridolin.
Yes, he's 1,700 meters. It's strange to see that altitudes for us that we used to fly here with very high sailings, 2,500 meters, 3,000, 3,500 meters, always good conditions here, nice place to fly. And today it seemed that it could be better, but they are a little bit in survival mode altogether. And meanwhile, the second group with Aldo and Jorge Arias and Silverio. Silverio is the lower one at that group. It was only 1,000 meters high, but I think arriving to the airfield, conditions improve. And meanwhile, Thomas Gosner has stopped taking care of the group, as we said before, and we don't know if he's alone. He has to be alone. Maybe it's another pilot with him, but we don't have the signal from him. And he's climbing, but he has gone very far to the north. He has to go to the south, to the 5-point Mianos. I don't know that difference of altitude is worth, but Thomas is an excellent pilot. He can rejoin the group, but we will see. We will see, and we will ask him what happened, and if his decision was correct. We can see all the pilots arriving to the end of the first circle of the circuit. And Serge was telling us that Oscar Sierra, Jürgen it seems he have missed the point of the south.
I'm not very sure, but it's very strange what he's doing. Maybe try to climb. It's not very high.
Yes, maybe he's going to Angustias Mountain, the first mountain that it's a service thermal. Almost always work. Maybe he's going there to be sure. He's climbing again. Maybe he could come and land. He's close to the field. We don't know. And meanwhile, the group of Aldo, Jorge, and Silverio is arriving to and Sergi is arriving to 6 point. That point at the second circle will be a rejoining point to arrive all together to the finish line. And meanwhile, we can see that Fridolin is at the lead still, 1,600 meters. Now Silverio is climbing. It's good. Silverio he was the lower of that group, and Sergi is a little bit back. I don't know if he's going to stop or not, but I think Sergi can see the group in front of him, so he will have markers. He will have no problem. Jürgen is climbing again, but if he misses the 6 point, he will not complete the task. We will see what happens.
Fridolin is but this returning is going to Jessa. Okay, it's well ahead of the rest of the pack.
Yes, Fridolin is making quite good. It's very nice. And at the west, we can see Sainel has appeared. Silverio is 1,200 meters. We thought he was with the Spanish group, but he's not. And meanwhile, Thomas Gosner to the north, he's not climbing a lot. We don't know what's happening. And meanwhile, we have punctual signals from Hossein team. We didn't know news from him many minutes ago. He's low. He's close to Silverio. We don't know if he can work together. They have landable places here. Well, he's not as low as Jürgen was, but we will see what happens. When the gliders are as low as they are, as we can see, sometimes they lose the signal. The antennas cannot receive the signal from their equipment, so we will see what happens. Now Thomas Gosner has gone to the south finally, has gone to Mianos. It's strange, we don't know if he will recover the distance to the leading pilots, but now we can see a very graphic image shot what is the situation. Some pilots, most of the pilots have a similar altitude, only 100 to 100 meters difference, and we can see Thomas now is at the back of the race. Meanwhile, Fridolin is at the lead. We think maybe they have seen when the first time they passed here that the center of the valley didn't work, so maybe now Fridolin is going as to the north as he can. He's not very high from the top of the mountains. He will be very close to them, and Aldo hasn't gone to the point to the east, has gone to the thermal service in Angustias or Cortafuegos, we call it, and we'll see what happens. It seems Jürgen has missed the point, and to the north, Fridolin is climbing. Now he's beginning to climb well, and meanwhile the Spanish group has stopped to the west of the airfield. Well, we are back again. We were a little bit worried about Hossein team, which is only about 600, 700 meters above ground. He's lower than Jürgen was. To the south is Silverio. He's higher than him, but we don't think he can join him. And Thomas is coming from the back, not very high. And it seems Angel is telling us that Hossein has made an outlanding. We will see. He has crew, so he has no problem for the retrieval. And meanwhile, the meteor radar, at the images, at the east there is rain, but at the west it's a little, but a few scattered raining, not much rain, seems to be. The problem is not the rain, but it gets the terrain wet, and it takes time to recover the thermal activity. Fridolin is still climbing. I think he is getting more difference with the chasing pilots. John Gatfield is maybe 3 or 4 kilometers behind, but he's 700 meters lower. I think Fridolin has the lead, has a big difference, and Jorge Arias and Aldo are making as Fridolin made. They are climbing in the similar zone when Fridolin did so. We can see from here nice cumulus where they are climbing. Seems to be nice thermals. And it's 4:30 They have passed the middle of the race. Maybe the last pilots, Serge, we don't know if we will have time enough to complete the task. What do you think?
Yeah. At this time there is no problem. Remember, the east side it's very good, and it's very the between Santa Cilia airfield and the east point, and going again to the west, it's very fast moment, and I think it's not too difficult. It's beginning to be bad weather, but very far at this time on the west, and they just have to to catch the west point, Yesa, and come back.
Perfect. Thomas Gosner is circling, trying to find the terminal also, but little he's not very low. Little bit to the east is Silverio. Silverio is trying to climb also 1,000 meters. I think he has available the main airfield of Santa Cilia, that distance. And the Spanish pilots are going to the north. And you can see also Fridolin is going to the north. He has learned the lesson not to go through the middle of the valley. Maybe the north is working better for him. And meanwhile, Aldo and Jürgen are climbing, and we'll go to the next point. We'll see. Also, John Gatfield was 1,200 meters. He's not climbing. He's in a place maybe in the downwind part of the mountain. It's not in a very good place. Maybe it's over isolated rocks. We will see. And well, now the west pilots are climbing. Silverio and Thomas. That was good. I think we can confirm that Hussein has made the landing out. Serge has told us that from the west and southwest there are some little storms forming and coming. We saw the satellite image, and in just 1 hour they have grown a lot. We don't know if they will arrive or not. In these days there is a front in the middle, well, to the west of Portugal coast, and all the question was all this week has uncertain weather because nobody knows at which speed does the front arrive to the main Spanish peninsula, Iberian Peninsula. And yesterday and today, it seemed that the front has lost strength, but it's coming a little bit faster than expected. Anyway, we have the window for the task we asked for. We were praying for. It's good. This morning at 8 in the morning, with all pilots ringing and filling with water, nobody thought, well, almost nobody thought there would be a task. The only one was Sergi, who was at 8 in the morning, was ready for the waging, for balance. And but now Sergi has won the bet, and also Serge, and they are racing. We can see at the bottom right John. John is very low. He's 1,000. He's coming back. And Aldo is the higher now, 2,300 meters. It's good. He's going to the east, but anyway, he's back at Fridolin. Fridolin is leading clearly, and we can see that Aldo has some advantage on Jorge Arias, who's going a little bit to the south. Now they are going to the east point, where the weather is a little bit more complicated. But we think the storms are more to the east, so should have no problem. Well, Serge has told us that he has confirmed that Hossein team has made the landing out. Au vache qu'il dit en français. And he's okay. Okay, our landing, everything perfect. Okay. This afternoon we will have another dinner with some migas he likes so much, and some Montana wine, and of course we will make some laughing. Okay, we'll keep on. We go back to the race. Sergi Pujol, we have only a few signals from him. He's climbing 1,800 meters. I think they are rejoining at the second point Guasillo, which is the 8th point. Remember, the second turn. And John Gatfield has problems climbing. I think he's been in the zone maybe 5 or 10 minutes. He has only climbed from 1,000 to 1,200 meters. Has problems to climb. He's climbing by little. And take a look at the difference. 400 meters higher, you can see Jorge Arias, Victor Lima, that is going straight to the point. Serge Leclerc was telling us that it's very important today, as there are changes of wind and thermal periods and thermal dead points, to stay high, to stay as high as they can. And it's important in gliding. There is a speech or some words called changing gears. You have to know when the clouds and the thermals are working well, you can run, and when if they have a stop. So you have to fly as much time as you can until the thermal activity recover. Sergio agrees. Thank you. And we have the radar signal in another window. We have a powerful storm coming from the southwest. He's worried about it. And I think the leading pilots, Serge, will have no problems. But maybe the rear pilots, we will see what happens.
We can see on the radar, meteor radar, the rain system arriving by the southwest, in the more or less is west, just close to the west point, not too far. And the system, it's a very quick development. It's a storm system, not a big system, but very quick. And you can see this system, and we can see, if you go outside, you can see the situation. It's changing on the west. There is no problem. I think during the next 40-45 minutes, I hope everybody can arrive on this point before.
Okay, thank you very much, Serge. Anyway, I think today we will have 2 races. The first one will be the task, and the second race will be to the recruit gliders, which don't have place in the hangar. And I think we will be some races we don't know.
There is no risk on the airfield. The difference of the west side and the situation of the Santa Cilia airfield, there is small mountain just behind the Ebro Valley and us, and the protection is enough to don't receive and to don't be touched with this system. Possibly during the night, the storm system will be more general, with the front arriving by west. But at this time, there is absolutely no problem for all the end of the afternoon.
Okay. Well, we can see now 3 pilots rejoining. Jorge, a little bit low, Sergi and Aldo. I don't know if Sergi has made the point. I don't think so. Sergi.
Sergi, no.
Sergi hasn't made the point. but they are climbing together. Meanwhile, John Gatfield has lost the 200 meters that he won. He fight a lot. We will not know what happened. We don't know what will happen. He's a little bit low at Guasillo. I think he can still land here, Serge. But now we think he has touched the point. And now he's climbing a little bit. We'll see. And meanwhile, Sergi is going to the point, to Guasillo. Meanwhile, the other Spanish go to the west. It could be interesting, Angel, to take a general view of what's happening, because we can see, apart from John, Thomas Gosner is also low.
And good news, HQ just passed Castillo Nuevo. So look at this, it's right there. Just past Castillo Nuevo going, will be here in 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the most. Unbelievable, huh? This Swiss pilot used to fly in the mountains, now flying through the valleys is also very good. The good pilot is also very, very friendly and very always happy, and it's always a pleasure to be dealing with him.
Well, good news for John. John is finally climbing. And meanwhile, the Spanish pilots, Jorge and Aldo, Victor Lima and 70, are, I think they are making the same path as Fridolin, going through the North Mountains, not through the South Mountains, first step, but through the second step. Here in Santa Cilia, for arriving to the main Pyrenees, we talk about 3 steps. We have 3 different height levels of mountains where you climb and jump to a higher until you arrive to the main mountains of Collarada Tendeñera, where most of the days you have a dynamic ridge and you can fly in very good conditions. And Thomas Gosner is only 1,000 meters. He's to the west of the field, doesn't climb very well. I think he's alone. And by the north, the Spanish pilots, 800 meters higher. And meanwhile, Sergi Pujol has climbed. Now he has more than 2,000 meters. He has one of the highest heights of the day. And Sergi Pujol he's an instructor at La Cerdanya airfield, and he always says, go to the rocks, go as high as you can, because you always find the good conditions. And I think he will touch the point and go to the north, following the road that has made 70, Victor Lima, and Hotel Quebec.
You can see that Sergi is touching Guasillo. British pilot John Gatfield is having a hard time today. I don't know why. we will ask him after the flight. But it's having really hard time. Look at this. It is Lima Echo. The Sergi Pujol is 600 meters above. Was very fast, touching Guasillo, going now to the west. And looks that it's going to be also finishing in a very good position today. Yeah, the day before was the second place, and will be not too bad, not too bad.
Okay, back again to the race. We are here, Angel, Sergio Clerc. We have Javi helping with the videos and images. We have a visit from Adolfo. Adolfo is always helping everybody. We have some pilots with some problems. Thank you, Adolfo, for your work.
One of the key stones of this airport, Adolfo.
He's helping in everything to everybody and always very sympathetic. Thank you very much, Adolfo. And well, good news from John Gatfield. He's 1,500 meters he has climbed. Meanwhile, Sergi has touched the Guasillo point, going to the west. I think he will be close to catch the other Spanish pilots. Hello again. We have here Angel has put us a very good and interesting analysis of what the race of Fridolin.
Fridolin, this is
Fridolin?
My good friend Fridolin.
Okay, the Swiss pilot. We can see what his path is. You can see that he's going through the highest part of the mountains because we don't have, by the way, we don't have high sailings in the whole race and especially in the west zone. And you can see that the profile of his path is a copy of the profile of the terrain of the highest part of the mountains. It's important here that you follow the highest part of the mountains, because apart from the activity of the thermals that the rocks trigger, the rocks and the mountains and the woods and the forest act like as a trigger for the thermals. Apart from it, the wind against the rocks is deviated because of the mountains, and you can have some dynamic flight. That means you go through the highest part of the mountains, and the wind, which is deviated by the rocks, makes you go up and not lose height. It's important. You can see that Fridolin has followed the path of the highest mountains and now is going to the vertex of the yellow lines, which is the point. Yes, and then he has to come to the northeast to Castillo Nuevo. You can see the little yellow flag. It's important to see what would happen, because I think is the part of the race where when they have passed before, they had much problem there. We will see. And back again. Oh, well, the higher pilot, we can see Jürgen Wenzel. He's very high, the higher of the day, 2,500 meters. Conditions are improving. Serge, Silverio, and Jürgen. We will see. Maybe Silverio is far from the lead.
I need to move it. Sorry, apologies.
And we will see what happens. Meanwhile, we can see Luis Ferreira is still at the first circle, going to Castillo Nuevo. Luis will have more difficulties because his glider has less performance than the much powerful and modern gliders. Thomas Gosner, he's been a lot of time in the same place, still and finally climbing. He has been a lot of time at 1,000 meters. It's really low. We don't know if. Do you think the pilots may have launched the water ballast? What do you think? No, they still have them. Okay, they still have it. So it's important because one of the things that happen when you have water ballast on your wings is that you have a little you are a little less agile. You don't have such a freedom of movements of your glider. So when you are low, sometimes one option is launching the water. So when you go fast, you will not run as much as other gliders, but you can climb faster. So sometimes it's an important decision, especially when you see the conditions will not improve. By the other hand, if the conditions are going to improve, it's better to retain it as much as you can if you don't make a landing out. So when the conditions improve, in the glidings, you can take profit of it. Okay, we can see now Victor Lima and 70 Aldo. They have the same altitude, little difference between the paths. I think Jorge is going to make the same path as Fridolin through the highest part of the mountains of the middle of the valley. Yesa mountains. And meanwhile, we don't know what is happening with the higher pilots, Junger and Silverio. We will see. Anyway, they are in the middle of the race. They are not the last pilots nor the first pilots. They will be a little bit less straight than before. Hello, we are back again. The leading pilot, Fridolin Hauser, now we lost the signal, but just a second, some seconds before we recover the signal, he has touched Yesa, going to Castillo Nuevo. He's 1,600 meters. We can see still some clouds to the west, but the time is deteriorating. The clouds are thicker and higher. And well, I think the storms Serge was talking about, they are arriving, but maybe they will have time. Serge was saying that we'll have time to make the task and come back. But we don't know the last pilots, what will happen to them. Now we can see Fridolin Hauser at the lead, Swiss pilot. And The second group is the Spanish pilots, Victor Lima and 70. They are not high. And Lima Echo after them, it's 200. He's 200 meters higher, but I think he will join them. They are the same. They have the same position right now. And meanwhile, the three pilots at the rear of the race, John Gatfield, John Yankee Oscar, Golf Tango, Thomas Gosner, and Sierra 5 Silverio, they are going to the north. I think I think Thomas Gosner has recovered part of the distance he had. I think he's going to catch John. And Silverio, I think he has thought about going high, stay safe, and that's what he's doing. Now John is climbing, and we will see. We will see what happens. We lost the signal from Fridolin. That was the worst part of the part of the race with the worst conditions between Yesa and Castilla Nuevo. And we don't have news from them, by the way.
Thomas still needs to go to Huasillo. Okay, he hasn't made it that point. Versus John is now decided to go to the highest part, and after touching Huasillo, in direction to Yesa. Okay.
Well, Roland has joined us here. Roland has joined us and was talking about the West is deteriorating, and we can see that before Yesa Lake, all three Spanish pilots are rejoining, and now the only one who has signal from is Victor Lima Jorge Ares. Is climbing very well. He has between a 3 and 4, and for sure Aldo and Sergi will join him. And Jorge Arias from Spain, he flies in Fuente Milano, San Ocaña. He's a very experienced hang gliding pilot, and he is very good catching and centering the thermals very, very easy. Sometimes when we make analysis of the flights from the IGC files, if you compare the medium thermals, almost always you can see that Jorge has the best medium thermal. It's very, very good at climbing and centering very easy, very fast the thermals. Fridolin, with data from the other system, we can the Fridolin is arriving to Castillo Nuevo Point, and he's only 27 kilometers from the finish line. Will be nice. We have to say that by the day procedures, the arriving altitude is only 740 meters over sea, which means about 200 meters over ground. And we think it's the leading group. As you may see, sometimes we lose the signal from one or other pilot, and sometimes it appears again close to the leading point. But I think today is not the case. Today we can have almost for sure that Fridolin is at the lead of the race. He has many chances to win today. And meanwhile, we can see to the west, Silverio is going from Wasillo to the next point, which is Yesa. Meanwhile, Thomas Gosner at the north of Silverio is climbing, but we think we still have he still has the point of Wasillo. So Thomas Gosner has recovered part of the distance, as we said before, but he is still at the rear of the group. And some minutes ago, we left Spanish group just before arriving the Yesa Lake. You can see at the screen, and we think they have a very good climb. Maybe they are chasing one sail of the storm that is arriving. They are passing 2,000 meters. It's good news for Jorge because for sure Jorge is climbing as high as he can to go to the western point of Yesa, the zone where the conditions were not so good. And well, we will see. Maybe he would be able to catch Fridolin. He's far from there, but Fridolin was lower. And some moments ago, Angel was making a signal that he was not climbing. It was just some moments. But if Fridolin has to stop and doesn't find a thermal in the first minutes, Jorge, with that difference, could catch him. Well, now, and now Angel has put us in the screen the speed, the ground speed of the pilots, and we can see Jürgen is tired of being low, so now he's the highest one with 2,500 meters, and Fridolin is arriving to the point of Mianos, which is only about 15 kilometers from the finish line. And Roland was 20 kilometers. Roland was telling us that he doesn't think that the Spanish group will catch Fridolin. Fridolin is making the final glide, maybe recovering some meters, things like that. But the Spanish pilots still have to go to the Yesa. Castillo Nuevo has a difference of about 25 kilometers more to do. You can see Yankee Oscar at the north, 6 kilometers. That's not real data at this moment. And Fridolin is arriving to Mianos, is climbing a little bit, and he's only 12 kilometers left to arrive to finish line. I think he will make it. And the most important thing is that he will avoid the storms coming from the south and southwest. This morning we're talking about, well, Fridolin was a little bit angry because next year will not be a Grand Prix with 15-meter class, all will be 18-meter class. So we were talking about what to do. And well, Fridolin, of course, wanted to make a good paper here in this 15 meters Grand Prix. We can see Sierra Alpha 1, which is Luis Ferreira, as the manager of the Jaca airfield, with a less powerful glider, but he wanted to make it. But I think he still has to begin the second circle. He has seen the worse weather coming from the west, sorry, and we think he's turning back to the airfield to be sure, have no problems. And meanwhile, Fridolin is only 10 kilometers from the rival. Well, in the east we left Thomas Gosner was arriving until to the eastern point. He has to manage to get some advantage or climb as high as he can. Otherwise, he will find the storms coming from the west. And I think Fridolin has to refuel. He's 1,000 meters, and he has to arrive at 740 meters over sea level. So he's still trying to climb a little bit. And meanwhile, John Gatfield at the north, he still has to make the point of yes. By the moment, we don't have news from the pilots that we're going to the western point, which is Yesa. Now we can see the value of the gliders. Fridolin, which is very close to the finish line, only 10 or 12 kilometers, but he had to stop. He's climbing in a 1 meter per second thermal, but he has a lot of advantage with the second pilot. We think is one of the pilots of the Spanish group, which is Victor Lima or 70 or Lima Echo. They were all going together. So we have a situation of Victor Lima, and we can make an idea that they are all going together where they are. Meanwhile, John Gatfield is coming from the northeast. He was climbing very well. I think now he has found a place where there is thermal activity. He's 1,400 meters. Maybe he wants to refuel altitude before going to the west. And Victor Lima, he's not going to Castillo Nuevo, by the way.
He's doing exactly the same what he has done on the first turn. Instead of going north, it's going south. However, seems to pay off. It's what we don't understand, and we need to analyze quite well his flight after he landed, because it's a weird strategy, but seems to work.
Maybe Jorge has seen another time a good cloud at the south of the lake, and the previous time he passed here, he made it. He climbed a lot, jumped to Castillo Nuevo. Take a look that from where he climbed and where he's going, he made a deviation of almost 90 degrees. But Jorge is a very experienced pilot. He's always make a good strategician. So for sure he has a good reason to make that deviation. Meanwhile, yes, finally, John Gatfield is climbing very well, and I think he will climb to the top of the cloud to point yes a Castillo Nuevo. And Fridolin seems to finally have left the thermal he was circling. He has stopped to gain some altitude, and now he's going to the rejoining point, which is 10.5 AA point. And from there, he will be only 4 kilometers from the finish line, which is exactly over the airfield of Santa Cilia, Jaca. Well, Fridolin has made a very good race, going along most part of the race, which has a lot of merit. It's very important, because in such conditions of low sailings, you have to be very careful not to get very low, and in that situation you get stress. So very good for Fridolin. Now we have not the signal, but we will him arriving at the finish line in just a few minutes. And meanwhile, as Angel was saying, Jorge has made the same. Take a look. Jorge has gone to the south. Maybe he has seen the cloud or just repeated what he done before. A good thermal. And by the other hand, 7-0, Aldo, they were flying together. He has taken another decision, going straight to the point of Castillo Nuevo. And we don't know the third Spanish, Lima Echo, Sergi Pujol. What is he doing?
It's on the same thermal right now that Victor Lima. Both of them, they are climbing on that thermal.
Okay, and well, meanwhile, we could take a look ahead to see where is Jürgen. Jürgen is 2,000 meters, but I think he's still on the east side, as well as Thomas Gosner. Okay, now we can see to the north part of Huasillo, Oscar Sierra and Golf Tango, Thomas Gosner. I think Thomas must have touched the point of Huasillo and is coming back to Yesa by the north, and Oscar Sierra also. You can see here that also Jürgen Wenzel has made a deviation of 90 degrees to the north. Take a look. So they are taking the higher mountains, even though today's race was thought to be in the flatlands, and pilots thought about not going to the higher mountains because it was very far from the normal course, from the normal path of the race. Now we can see Fridolin is only, I think, a couple of kilometers from the arrival. From the reporting point, sorry, and then 3 kilometers from the arrival. He is not very high from the minimum altitude, and he's not running too much. If he had, should he have enough altitude, you would see the gliders arriving at the finish line at more than 200-250 kilometers per hour, but it's not this time. This time he's only 1,500 kilometers. You can see this red cylinder is the rejoining point, the last point before finish line. You can see at the end of after the red cylinder, that green line, which is the finish line. And after that, to the east, you can see Thomas Gosner and Jürgen still north of Huasillo. Now passing the joining point. Thank you, Angel. This is a view from the cockpit.
With the sun in his back.
With the sun in his back, and turning a little bit left to the finish line. He has only about 100 meters left. Take a look at the ground speed. He's only 100 kilometers per hour. So he has not altitude left. It's interesting to see. Now Roland will see what is the altitude, real altitude he will pass the finish line, but he doesn't have much altitude to lose now. He's only about 1 or 2 kilometers from the finish line. For these modern gliders going at 128 kilometers per hour, is going very, very slow. He's taking the maximum profit of the gliding of his glider.
Trying to maintain the altitude as much as they can, because they need to go over 740 meters. 740 meters is the maximum altitude for today.
Yes, the minimum altitude.
The
Yes,
minimum altitude.
yes. Anyway, should he have any penalty, we think he has a lot of advantage and time above the second pilot. We still don't know who will be. Maybe Jorge, if his strategy works. Maybe 7-0 if he's going directly to the Castillo Viejo point. And we see here he's only 1 kilometer, 300 meters from the finish line, and he's going to past the finish line right now. Okay, fantastic, Fridolin Hauser, fantastic race. Thank you very, very much.
Finish.
He has finished, and well, he will have a champagne bottle today, and difficult day, not easy. It will be interesting to talk to him how he has managed the altitude, the bad moments when there was no thermal activity. And meanwhile, we still have to take a look at what will happen with the second and third places. Jorge Arias, Victor Lima, is arriving to Castillo Nuevo, and 7-0 is about 3-4 kilometers in front of him, but he's a little bit lower. Really, they are at the same position. And meanwhile, still arriving to Yesa is John Gatfield. John managed to climb before arriving to the lake. He climbed about 2,500 meters, which is a good altitude to go to the west and then come back. And well, we can see now the real position of who could be the second and third places of today's task. Yeah. We can see
Jorge still has to go to Castillo Nuevo and touch the turning point, while Aldo has already done it and needs to go all the way down to Sumieso.
Yes, we can see Aldo is, as we talked before, Aldo is going just above the top of the mountains, climbing wherever he finds hot air coming from the slopes of these mountains. And it will be interesting. I think Aldo is going to make a second, but they are not high. They will still have to stop to gain some altitude, so it will be interesting. It depends on who gets the climb the first, and the best climb could be the second and the other the third. We'll see. Well, back again in the race, we can see you can see Aldo following the path of the mountains. After him is Jorge. We talk about they took different ways to arrive to Castillo Nuevo, the northern point, and the Sergi Pujol, the third Spanish, who we didn't have any news from him. We don't know what he has made it, but he's higher. He's 2,300 meters. So for sure, Jorge and Aldo, well, in my humble opinion, they still have to stop to climb. But Sergi is 1,000 meters higher. So we will see what happens. Sergi maybe is a little bit more conservative than his two companion pilots. We don't know have right now, by the way, signal from where Sergi is. We think he still has to arrive to Castillo Nuevo, but believe me, we don't know. We still don't know if Sergi will catch them. Sergi could still catch Jorge and Aldo, and he has the advantage of the altitude. He doesn't have to stop in any thermal he finds. He still can choose. By the other hand, Aldo is 1,200 meters, and if he gets a little bit low, he will have to stop in the thermal he finds, whether it's a 1 meter per second or 3 meter per second. It's important. Meanwhile, Aldo is about 20 kilometers from the finish line. He is arriving to Mianos Point, which is about 15 kilometers from the aggregation point, and then 3-4 kilometers only left to the finish line. Aldo is climbing now. We could see interesting to see if Victor Lima catches Aldo. We don't know. And meanwhile, we see arriving to Castillo Nuevo, John Gatfield and Silverio. But take a look. John Gatfield is 600 meters higher. Silverio is a little bit lower. When Fridolin passed that zone, he was, I think, at the same altitude, maybe 200 meters higher. He was at about 1,500 meters, and Silverio is a little bit lower. We will see. By the moment, it's not raining here. We don't have any storms around. Aldo's climbing, Ando's climbing, and Jorge, I think he's not running too much. He's only 130 kilometers. Maybe he's climbing also, and we don't have news from Sergi. It will be interesting to see who will arrive the second and the third. Oh, Sergi is far from the other Spanish pilots than I thought before. He's with John Gatfield and Silverio. Maybe Angel, we can take a little zoom over that pilots, what's happening there. I don't think, looking at Sergi, he will be able to catch them. I thought he was closer to Victor Lima and 7-0, but he still hasn't made the point of Castillo Nuevo. So I think maybe they are working together, Silverio, John, and Sergi, and Aldo has climbed to 1,300 meters. Sergi says he almost has the altitude to arrive. Very good, Aldo. And Aldo, with a glider with less performance, he always make a very good paper, very good flights. He's a fantastic glider pilot.
Especially
incredible.
The final approach. I don't know how he made it. We have the suspect. We make always this joke that he has a turbine somewhere in the glider. It's a joke, but Elvis does such a beautiful, extremely performance arrivals. Okay.
And yes, that's very good. As every pilot has its point, and well, I think Jorge has stopped to climb, and Aldo I think is in final light, and he's running. He's 160 kilometers per hour. Remember, just 5 minutes ago. On the other hand, Fridolin was in the same place was running only 120 kilometers per hour. So you can see that Aldo has more altitude. He is more conservative, and so he has made it with more altitude. It will be interesting. We're talking right now, Angel with Serge. That of course Thomas Gosner had an advantage at the lead of the whole championship on the second, third, and fourth pilots, which all three had 10 points. And but I think today Thomas Gosner will lose the advantage he had, and Fridolin and Aldo could climb to the second or third place, maybe even not the first. We will see. It depends also on how many pilots finish the task today. We are looking at the window we have in the office, and it's dark at the west side. Cumulus towers, but not raining. Seems no rain. Now we'll take a look at the radar meteo, but it seemed that still no rain. Even though trying to arrive to Yesa, you can see at the north, but I don't know if he will catch any point. Strange. Sergi is with Jorge. Jorge stopped a lot. Sergi catched the Jorge who was in front of him, and Aldo is only 8 kilometers from the finish line. He's not running too much, but if he's going to 160 kilometers per hour, it means he has the altitude. He will make it, and as Angel said, of course he will make profit of his final lights. Meanwhile, we can see that Jürgen Wenzel, after making the eastern point, he didn't try to make the western part. He has landed at Arfeld, our Arfeld here. We saw by the window, and we can see here Aldo arriving, crossing the river, and arriving to the finish line. There will be a important difference at the average speed. Aldo is making 90 kilometers per hour. Maybe Fridolin has made 95. We don't know, but you can see sometimes there is a little difference between the first, second, and third. Sometimes you are at the finish line looking how they arrive, and they arrive almost together, but today no. Today there's a big difference between the first and the second, and even to the third. I think the pilots have been in survival mode for a good part of the flight. It must not have been a comfortable flight, but it's curious because from here, from the ground, the conditions seemed to be better. As Serge Leclerc, contest director, said, something was happening with the wind. There was some wind shear or something. We will talk with the pilots, and for sure we'll have the interviews at the FAI SGP internet webpage. But from here, the cumulus seemed so good, so nice, but the real thing was different. The real thing is that they had to most part of the race below 2,000 meters, and that's not very comfortable. Now we can see Aldo is arriving to the finish line, 2 kilometers left, and maybe he pushed too much just a couple of kilometers before. Now we can see he has he's flying slower than some minutes before. We don't know, Angel, if that altitude is exactly the one in the lower.
That is the GPS altitude. It's not the barometric altitude. We really don't know because a few meters will make the difference. But Aldo is an expert pilot. I believe that he will make it properly.
So
Sure.
if we see here 760 meters, and well, we'll just sign up for one moment. We can see the data running. If we see the altitude less than 740 meters, it doesn't have to be that way. It's not exact altitude. It's not the altitude that our referee sees and looks for. Take a look at if they have crossed the limit. Okay, Aldo has made the second. Very good for Aldo. And Aldo has made the during landing, as Angel said. And we can see the next pilots arriving to 4th point Mianos. We see John Gatfield. And I think he's going with Victor Lima, which is Jorge Arias. And we will see who is the third. Jorge wants some points. He was a little bit disappointed these 2 days. One day was a little mistake with the computer, you know. And maybe we get, if we see the barrier at 4 meters per second in negative, I think that's because they are running a lot. They are running fast because they are losing a lot of altitude. We will see. Yes, take a look. 200 kilometers, 20 John Gatfield, and almost 200 Jorge. They are running a lot. John Gatfield is chasing after, it's trying to chase Jorge Arias. Now we lost Jorge's signal, so we have a little more emotions here. What will happen? Where will Jorge appear? I think John Gatfield's glider runs a little bit more than Jorge Arias one, but Jorge has some more altitude. He's higher. They are only 12 kilometers, have only 12 kilometers left. There they are. Well, we have here Fridolin Hauser, the winner of the day. Fantastic race, Fridolin. He has a smile on his face. He's very happy, we think.
All face is a smile.
Fantastic, and with many minutes of difference with the second, which is Aldo. Okay, thank you very much, Fridolin. See you later. Again, we can see the difference between John and Victor and Jorge. They are very close one to another. I don't know who is going to win, really. Jorge is a little bit higher, but John is running more than Victor, than Jorge. We will see. Now we can see this is the view from the John Gatfield cockpit, who is chasing Jorge Arias in front of him, just a couple of meters. And well, Hotel Quebec is already landed, And a little bit high, you can see Victor Lima label moving. They are running. They are 5 kilometers. They have 5 kilometers left to the finish line. I think John Hatfield has stopped a little bit. Otherwise, he will pass the altitude limit. And Jorge has done it. Jorge will be second. He's going faster. He's higher than John. Fantastic race. Also, Jorge. We'll talk about what was there at the south of Yesa Lake. Maybe there was some incredible bird circling or a fantastic cloud, but interesting decision to take a deviation of 90 degrees, but it was worth. Jorge has made a good decision in that part of the race. You know, now Jorge is running a lot, and John Galfield is only 2 kilometers left after Jorge. Now John Galfield has changed gear to a more slower gear to arrive to the limit altitude. And meanwhile, Luis Herrera also landed here. Remember that Jose Litin made an landing. Jürgen stopped the task and landed at the airfield also. And Jorge is going to finish. Jorge has finished third. Very well, Jorge. And John Galfield arriving to the finish line also. Very well, very well. Perfect. Jorge Arias third, fantastic. John Gatfield fourth, very good results. Also, he had some moments. He was very low. He stayed maybe 10 minutes trying to climb. Difficult, but he came back to the race. Very well, John. He passed that moment and came back to the race and passed other pilots. And after them, they are coming. The little group was formed by Sergi Pujol with Silverio, and I think John managed to escape from them in the last kilometers. Well, I think Silverio is a little bit high. Maybe he stopped a lot. Well, we can see also Lima Echo. Sergi Pujol has also arrived with good altitude. And well, after this broadcasting, we salute you. We thank you for listening our broadcasting, and we want to say you goodbye, Angel.
And we come with you tomorrow. Tomorrow, follow the Twitter, Facebook, or the web page, and you will find all the details. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Goodbye.